day be an aliyah for Yosef Chaim ben Olga Fax and a Farah Shalama for Abraham ben Masuda. Thank you for all that donated to School Mitzvot.
Good afternoon. I want to start by thanking Adir Cohen and Jonathan Suri for asking me to join and asking Toys for Simcha for being involved. Netivot Yisrael actually have a big part in the work of Toys for Simcha, which I'm going to share with you in a few moments. But first, my name is JJ Hecht. I'm the Executive Director of Toys for Simcha. I want to give a big shout out to Eli Cohen from our Board of Directors. And behind every man, so Helen, where is Helen still here? You'll make sure, oh, hi Helen. So Eli and Helen Cohen, thank you as well for bringing me here today. Before Rabbi Mizrahi shares with everyone a few words, I want to share with you a quick story. Just 6 short weeks after October 7th, Netivot Yisrael led a mission to Israel. And Adir and Jonathan reached out to me before the mission and said, although we're going to help Klal Yisrael in general, and we're going to be visiting the army bases and the places in the south and the soldiers, we also want to volunteer with Toys for Simcha and visit some of the children in the hospitals. It was right before Hanukkah, so they threw this huge party in the hospital for the kids in Mainei Shoah Medical Center in Bnei Brak. And they really went all out, like they did today. They had music and live entertainment and food and drink, and it was a really huge, fun event for all the kids in the hospital. Morty Fax, that's also the Fax connection here today. Morty Fax was on the trip with them. Morty's a dear friend of mine. And he was at the hospital, and they were going, when they finished the party, they went room to room. Is what we really do is go room to room, visit every child in their room, spend some time with the child, spend some time with the family, talk with them, give them support, chizuk, and of course give them a toy to put a smile on their face. So there's a picture of Jonathan and Morty standing by a bed with a young teenage girl sitting in the bed. And the story behind the photo is Morty came into the room and the girl was looking very depressed, and Morty says, okay, what's going on? And they said that the girl's being treated for cancer, and that morning she found out that the cancer treatment was not working and she would have to up the regimen. So of course it was a very sad time. So Morty turns around to John and says, John, do we still have any iPads in the car? So John says, yeah. So John ran down. For whatever reason, Hashem put the idea into his mind. He took 2 iPads, threw them in a backpack, came upstairs. And Morty tells the girl, so it's Bnei Brak, so it's a very Haredi community. So our staff are always very sensitive to know what type of toy to give to what type of kid. So he pulled the mother to the side and said, would it be okay with you if we give your daughter an iPad? And she's like, of course, like she would love it and it would really help her. And we call iPads, it's under our Tablets for Teens program. We call it your Get Well Buddy. And the goal is that it helps them with education, it gets keep up with schoolwork, it helps them be in touch with friends and family, and also it's just fun entertainment, games, movies, whatever. So Morty goes to the girl and says, I have a gift for you, and he pulls out an iPad. And she says, thank you, but I have a question. Do I have to keep the iPad? So Morty's like, why would you not want to keep it? She's like, well, I have a younger brother at home, and since I've been sick, my mom's here with me in the hospital, my grandma's here with me in the hospital, my dad's always visiting, and no one's giving him any attention. I want him to know that we love him as well. So at that point, there was no dry eye in the room, and Morty said, yes, on one condition. And he pulled out the second iPad from the backpack, gave it to her, and said, this one's for you. That is what we do at Toys for Simcha. We look for opportunities to uplift the experience of a child, to take them out of the depressed, sad mindset, and just make them happy. Because we believe happy kids heal faster. Thank you very much for coming to support. It's a really special cause to all of us. I'm going to now introduce Rabbi Mizrahi, which we are all very much looking forward to hearing from Rabbi Mizrahi some words of inspiration.
Thank you so much. Hazaka Baruch to School HaMitzvot, everyone that came, everyone that showed up to show support for this beautiful and very important organization, Toys for Simcha. And the interesting thing about Simcha is that often in life, when we think we're giving Simcha to other people, in a weird way, we find that actually we found Simcha ourselves. Like the Rambam says, there's no greater way to find happiness than by giving happiness. And often in life, when we look to take happiness for ourselves, we find that we're nowhere to be found. The trick, the key to happiness is by giving it. And I want to thank the hosts, Danielle and David Chitrit. You should always have beracha in the home. You should always host Oli Semachot for you, for your children, for your family. We should be zocheh together to see the redemption. As well, the class today is going to be L'Refuah Shlema Avraham ben Masuda Ilna Refanalo, Ilna Refanalo, Ilna Refanalo. The zechut of all the tzedakah that's being done today should as well be a source of Refuah Shlema. And finally, today's class is Le'elu Nishmat Yosef Hayim ben Olga, who passed away, unfortunately, way before his time, if we could say that. When I went to visit the parents, I met two of the most remarkable, strongest people that I ever met in my entire life. People that just days ago lost their son, to be able to have the reaction of Aharon HaKohen, the reaction of Vayidom Aharon, the reaction of surrender to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, no complaints, only faith. And to be able to take that pain today of losing their child and to decide that they want to help other children in the world, to turn their pain outward, there could be nothing greater. That is the definition of what a Jew does. And we are here to show support for the family. At the end of the day, we cannot comfort them. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem, we say. May they find comfort, solace in these very difficult times. So Be'ezrat Hashem, today's class as well will be Elu Neshama of Yosef Chaim ben Olga, which means Yosef, he should have extra Chaim life. A boy who was not able to live a long life in this world. We are able to add Lehosif, we are able to Yosef Chaim. We could add days to his life with the learning, with the mitzvot, the tzedakah that we do today and forevermore. We, my friends, are in the days called the 9 days. Nobody likes the 9 days. They're days that we are mema'et besimcha. They're days that we decrease in happiness. So as an example, we're days that we're supposed to go to our in-laws, things like that. Just a joke. But the day is more important that we focus on Ben Adam Lachavero. The days that we're supposed to focus on our relationship with the people around us. There was a great rabbi, his name was Rav Avraham Yehoshua Heschel. He was known as the Ohev Israel. He was known as the lover of Israel. Whenever he would speak, you knew what he was going to talk about. Only one topic. You know, certain rabbis, when they get up, you know, oh, he's the Emunah rabbi. Oh, he's going to talk about Shabbat for sure, I bet you. Right? Oh, that rabbi, he's always about, you know, self-esteem. I like listening, he's a self-esteem guy. Well, the Rav Heschel, he was the Ohev Israel guy. Whenever he would get up, you knew it was going to be about Ahavat Israel. And he used to say that you could connect any and every parasha to Ahavat Israel. He said you could go any parasha you want. That's how important the topic is. That every single parasha in the Torah connects to how important it is to love Am Yisrael. And so the students came one time, they started to challenge the rabbi. I said, yeah, Rabbi, well, we found a parasha. How about Parashat Balak? Go ahead, Rav. Find us the connection to Balak. Balak, the whole thing is about cursing, try to curse the people. How do you connect Balak to Ahavat Israel? Without breaking a sweat, the rabbi said, what are you talking about? That's the easiest one. I said, how? He said, what do you mean? Balak stands for Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. They started chuckling. They said, come on, Rabbi. That's not going to fly. Ve'ahavta is with a vav. Balak is a bet. Okay, the l'reacha, you got the lamid. Kamocha is a chaf. Balak is a kuf. The rabbi smiled and he said, but if you want to love people, you can't be so precise. You can't be so exact. If you're going to look, if you're going to use a magnifying glass, you will find a reason to hate, to dislike. You could invalidate anybody. You could dispose of anyone. If you look hard enough, you could find. Ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you can't be so precise. The people that we love in our lives, it's not because they're perfect. The people that we love is not because they only have good to them. People are very complicated. People have good, people have bad. The people that we love, our children, our spouse, our parents, the people that we love them because we choose to see the good. It's not because they're only good. But that's what we focus on. Ahava Israel comes down to one thing. What do you see? Nobody is all good or all bad. But when we go through life and we talk negatively about people and we dismiss individuals or communities, it's because at that moment in life we are deciding to zone in, to focus on one specific piece of this person's life. We are isolating an event. We are isolating a trait. And as Jews, we've been too often the victim of this. How many times the media does such a good job at taking one story and then taking a piece of that one story and then blowing it up on a headline. Soldier kills unarmed Palestinian. And when you take something out of context, you can make anyone look like a bad guy. But Ahavat Israel means you got to widen the lens. You got to realize there's so much complexity. And yes, maybe this person, it's true. It's true. Maybe they have that problem. But is that the totality of that person? When we look in the mirror every morning, what do we see? We see God's gift to the world. If only everyone was like me, Mashiach would have been here already. Are we perfect? We're far from it. But there's so much good to me, Rabbi. And we have to realize that that is everybody. When Balaam tried cursing the Jewish people in Perashat Balak, at first he was not successful. And listen to what he says. He says to Balak, he says, come, it didn't work from here. But let's try to go over there. Because from there, Katsehu er'eh. From there, I think we could see a part of them. And then from there, we could curse them. And what he was telling Balak is that in life, if you want to curse somebody, all you need to do is see Katsehu. All you need to do is see a part of them. All you need to do is slice out a part of that person's day, a part of the person's life. And then you'll find 1,000 reasons to curse them. But the question is, what do we see? What do we choose to see? Because good and bad, everybody's got both. And Ahavat Yisrael comes down to being able to look for the good. In Hebrew, that's called Limud Zechut. You got to look for the good. Matter of fact, the first Tisha B'Av was a very sad day. It was supposed to be a happy day. It was a day that Moshe sent 12 men, righteous men, tzaddikim, kulam anashim, the Pasuk calls them. And he sends them on a mission to go to Israel, to find out about the land and to report back. And they go for 40 days, and they report back. After the 40 days, they come back, these 12 men, and unfortunately 10 out of the 12, they came back and all they had was negative things to say. It's a land filled with giants. We're there for 40 days and all we saw was death, funerals, people dying, people being buried constantly. That's what we saw. And God said, you cried tonight, you'll cry every year tonight. And of course that night was Tisha B'Av. And the only question I have is, what did the spies do wrong? They didn't lie. They didn't make that up. There were funerals. There were giants. There were people dying. And the answer is, they did nothing wrong, except they decided to focus on the bad. It's true, people are dying. But that's what you see? You see death? You don't see that God was coming to actually distract millions of Canaanim from noticing 12 spies in their country? You didn't see that? You didn't notice the good? Why is that what you saw? And says Rav Dessler, every holiday has an energy. Rosh Hashanah has got an energy, Yom Kippur has energy, Hanukkah has energy, every holiday's got a certain energy, Purim we get drunk, right? Every holiday's got its gas. What's the energy of Tisha B'Av? What are we tapping into? Says Rav Dessler, Tisha B'Av, the energy is to learn to see the good. That person in your life that you think is all bitter, horrible, annoying, toxic. And sometimes there are exceptions. I'm not going to say no. But for the most part, ask yourself, how many people in your life do you have a hard time with? At a certain point, you got to ask yourself, maybe you're the problem. Adam HaRishon, he had a beautiful wife. Her name was Chava. Before she was named, Adam, God says, not good to be alone. Let me give him a wife. There weren't many options. It was, just her. Imagine Adam on J-Swipe. Eve. All right, I guess I'll go with Eve. It was just her. So they get married. The next morning, he wakes up, he smells beautiful smell of eggs and a fruit. Honey, you want some breakfast? He goes, sure. She hands him a thing. He eats it, then all of a sudden it gets cloudy and Hashem comes down. What did you do? How'd you dare eat? I told you. He's like, I didn't know. She gave me. I didn't do anything. And because you ate, death is going to come to the world. Dun, 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 dun. And now for the rest of history, we're doomed. Okay, it is what it is. What are you going to do? Next page. God says to Adam, okay, your first job, I need you to name the animal kingdom. Okay. He goes through all the animals. Now Adam had a tremendous power. Adam didn't just name arbitrarily, cat. Adam looked into the essence of a cat and he saw that this animal, it's got a chet and a taf and a vav and a lamed. You're a chatul. And you touch a man's heart very much. We're going to call you a kelev. We're going to call you a dog. And he named all the animals. And then it comes, Eve's online. So Adam, what are you going to name me? Right? And he says, we're going to name you life. Chava. Ki hi hayeta em kol chai. What? Life? Sure? You mean the opposite. You mean death is what you mean, Adam. Right? Because that's what she did. She brought death to the world. We should call her Mavet. Says Adam, it's true. But she also brings life. What do you see? What do you see? And part of this month, my friends, we have to train ourselves to be melamed zechut. There was a great rabbi, his name was Rabbi Hiya. Rabbi Hiya's wife, I guess you could just say she wasn't an Eshe Chayil. Whatever he would ask for dinner, she would make the opposite. Can we get Majedra? She would make chicken. Can we get some meat? She would make pizza. Whatever you wanted, can we go healthy today? I'm on Ozempic. You went, Okay. Finally, one day his student, he caught on. He decided to trick the wife. So he said, go tell my wife I would like some meat for dinner. So the student knew if I tell her meat, she's going to make dairy. So you know what? He outsmarted the system. Let me tell her dairy. So he goes, the rabbi would like some pizza for dinner. Of course, she made meat. The rabbi got home and dinner was just as he wanted, and he was surprised. What in the world's going on? What'd you do with my wife? And the student, he understood, he caught on, and he killed him. How dare you? Don't you ever lie to my wife. But Rabbi. And then he said, I don't understand, Rabbi. A wife like this, how come you're always thinking about her? You're always sensitive to her? And the rabbi listened to what he said. He said one line. Dayan, it's enough that she saves us from sin and that she raises the children. For that and for that alone, I am forever indebted to her. A person could come home and they could look at their spouse. What do we see? Some people are only complainers. And no matter what comes, they find reasons to complain. They find what's no good in the situation. They find what's no good with the family. They go on dates and they find why this person's not good enough. No one's good enough. That's what they see. They see problems. Everyone's a problem. That's why you should know that Avot, they all met their wife at a well. Because at a well, there's no water on top. You gotta dig. You gotta look deep. You gotta search. You gotta find the good. Everyone has good. But you gotta look hard for it. There was a great rabbi, his name was Rav Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev, from Halab. No, I'm kidding. One time he saw a guy eating on Tisha B'Av. So he ran over, he said, my dear Jew, you must not know that today is Tisha B'Av. He said, no, Rabbi, I'm aware today's Tisha B'Av. He said, so you must not be aware that the law is that it's forbidden to eat on Tisha B'Av. He said, no, Rabbi, I know the halakha, you're not allowed to eat on Tisha B'Av. He said, so you must be sick. He said, Rabbi, I've never been better. And Rav Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev looked up at the heavens and he said, Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, look how beautiful your children are. Here I gave this man 3 chances to lie, and yet he only tells the truth. That's what he saw. He didn't see a guy eating on Tisha B'Av. Of course he does. Of course he's eating. But is that what we see? A man complained to the rabbi, he said, I understand this guy comes to shul and the whole time he's reading the newspaper. And the rabbi said back, it's true. But you know what I see? I see this Jew who's so alienated. He doesn't even care to pray. He doesn't even understand Hebrew. He can't even open the Siddur. So much so that when he comes, he has to open the newspaper. And yet, on top of it all, he cares enough to come and complete a minyan. I don't see guys talking in shul. I see a guy who cared enough. He's not out there, he's in here. It's true, he's talking. But that's not what I see. I don't see a guy talking in shul. I see a guy talking in shul. When we come home, what do we see? Ugh, my kids made such a mess. Or a person could say, Baruch Hashem, my kids made a mess. What do we see? When our husband is out at work late. I don't understand. He's never home. Is that what we see? Baruch Hashem, I have a husband who has a job, who is able to provide for my family, that we could put our kids through a beautiful school, that we could afford all the luxuries that we could want in life. But it comes down to a perspective. It comes down to a limud zechut, to being able to see the beauty in people around us. Because in life you need that. You need that with everything. We can look at our own lives. What do you see in your own life? Do we feel blessed? Do we feel cursed? What do we see? I had a student calls me from a trip, not in winter vacation, not in the summer, a shoulder holiday weekend. It was one of those side ones, the President's Weekend one. What's going on? Skiing somewhere out in Europe. Beautiful. Where are you staying? Which hotel? He sends me, it's a 4-star, Rabbi. I'm not rich. I said, you're not rich. You're skiing with your wife. That means you're married. With your 4 beautiful children. That means that you have children that are healthy. In President's Weekend, in Europe. If that's not rich, then I don't know what is. What do we see? We got to realize there's always good and there's always bad, but what do we focus on? That is a choice that we have to make. To be melamed zechu. The first Tisha B'Av started because of a few men that decided to come back and to see the bad. Decided to notice the problems. And even David HaMelech reminds us, you could go to the most beautiful country, you could go to Israel today, and you come back, how's the audits? Nice. Not for me, but nice. A lot of fighting. People don't get along. Israelis are fighting, you know what I mean? They're very feisty, these Israelis. Very tight. I don't know how they live like that. But it's nice, It's nice. For once every 3 years, bar mitzvah trip, Over there. Is that what we see? David HaMelech says, Ur'eh betuv Yerushalayim. You got to see the good of Jerusalem. Even Jerusalem, you could come back and you could slander it. You could come back and you could knock it. You could passel anybody. You could find flaws with anything. You sit, you look hard enough. Take the biggest guy, you could throw him down. It's a choice that we have to make. Things go wrong in life. Something breaks in the house. The glass broke. That's one way of looking at it. But at the very same time, a person could say, Baruch Hashem. That means I have dishes, that means I have a home. Unless he's staying by the in-laws and then it's their dishes. And you break them on purpose. Inshallah, we never come back anymore. So this is something that we have to decide. And I'll end with this. There was a Navi, his name was Elisha. Elisha Navi, he had a lady, she came to him. And she complained, she said, my husband died, my kids are very hungry, could the rabbi help? And we know the story. The Navi says, what do you have in the home? And she says, I have a little bit of oil. And he tells her, okay, beautiful. Bring the oil. Get as many bottles and jugs as you can. And start filling. And fill and see. You'll see magic will happen. Baba Sali style. Netivot Israel style. You know what I mean? So, he comes in. She gets all the things and she fills it up. She filled up all the bottles she could find with oil. And she lived the rest of her life. Beautiful miracle, beautiful beracha. And the only question the commentaries have is, why did he ask her, what do you have in the house? Why does he say that for? Why didn't he just say, here's a little oil, here's oil, take the oil, now fill up all the things that you have. Fill up all your bottles and pots and pans. No. He couldn't give her oil. She had to have a little bit of oil. Why? So one answer, simple answer, is because a miracle could only happen if you first have something. You have to have first something, and then Hashem can make a miracle. That's what the Zohar says. But I want to tell you a beautiful answer that I saw from Harav Rimon. Answer is going to change your life. Rav Rimon said what the Navi was teaching her. He says, wow, you have a horrible life, I hear. Your husband's gone. You have 2 children. They're struggling. No parnasa. But he looks at her and he says, but what do you have in your life? What yes do you have in the home? Ma yesh babayit. I know what you don't have. You made a beautiful list of all the things that are going wrong. Fine. But can you count your blessings? Can you open your eyes? Can you answer what Hashem gave you? When you could start noticing that, then the miracles start pouring in. When we could open our eyes to the oil that Hashem blessed us with. And so this is our avodah this month, ladies. To start training ourselves, to start opening our eyes, to start feeling the blessing, to seeing the good that Hashem has given us, the good of this person that we're married to, the good of the person that we're maybe going out with on a date, or the good in the people that are around us. But to start seeing the good. A girl came. She was going out with a guy. She came to the Lubavitch Rebbe. She said, I think I'm going to break up with him. So why? He said, listen, I like him, but my parents, they don't want me to go out with him. How come? He's religious kid, but his parents, they're not Shomer Shabbat. His parents are not. And what about the boy? No, the boy's a very good boy, but he comes from a home that there's things going on. And my parents, they don't want me marrying such a problem. And the Rebbe looked at her and he said, such a problem? Problem? You see a problem? I see a boy who was raised without any of this religious lifestyle. And on his own, he decided that that's how he wants to live. I don't see a problem. Actually, I see over here a strength. That's a reason to marry a kid. It wasn't shoved down his throat. It wasn't thrown on him. He didn't choose it. It wasn't chosen for him. He chose it on his own. I see over here only good. It's an outlook. I'm sure you've read for your child. Very famous book. Brown bear, brown bear. What do you see? That is the question of Tisha B'Av, my friends. What do we see? Do we see a wife who brought death to the world? Or do we see Ki hi hayeta im kol chai? Do we see a wife who's always not giving us what we want for dinner? Do I realize, Baruch Hashem, she takes care of the children? My husband provides for the family. What do we see? Ugh, my parents are so annoying. They're always calling me. Can't. Can you take me here, go there, book a trip for me, learn how to use Expedia and book your own trip already. Or a person could say, Baruch Hashem. That means I have parents that are alive. Parents that are still calling. Many people, they wish their parents could call. Every challenge has a blessing. Every challenge has a blessing. May Hashem bless every one of us to be able to open our eyes to the most beautiful blessings that He gave us. To only be able to see it. To be able to walk around with so much simcha, so much joy. To be able to bring simcha to these children. Again, I want to thank Eli, I want to thank Adir for giving me the beautiful zechut, the opportunity of bringing me here. I want to thank the hosts. I want to thank everyone for coming. Be'ezat Hashem, we should be zocheh together to welcome the Mashiach, to be able to put an end to all the suffering that's in the world. B'mirabi amenu, amen.